Welcome back to another episode of the Blessing Health System podcast. Today we're here with Jen Kamps and Henry Haughton. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad today, Justin. Feels good. I'm happy to be here. I'm with Jen. She's going to give us some great information alongside myself.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. So we're doing well.
Pretty much every time we have Jen on, it's something nutrition related.
Yep.
So today's topic is a little bit on hydration.
Yeah, just remembering that no matter what season it is, we have that need for water. Two-thirds of the body is made up of water, so we need to be replenishing that and keeping that level where it is. Or we have the issues like the dry skin, among other things, which we'll touch on in a minute.
Exactly. So again, just pinpointing or bringing it back to the fact that we have to pay attention to how we feel. Dry skin, dry mouth. Also, understand if you're an athlete or working out, that in some sense you're going to lose a lot more water that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the basis for hydration, right? So water, electrolytes, what kind of tips can you give people that are wondering, am I getting enough water? How do you kind of tell?
So one of the easiest ways, best way they say to assess hydration status is to be checking your urine. So you're wanting it to be a lighter color. They say like lemonade versus like an apple juice. Yes. So that's a good indication of hydration, but it's not perfect because some medications can make urine different color. Spices, too much that can cause it. So it's just a quick glance to see where you're at, and then knowing if you need to drink a little more water.
Is there any time of day that you would think in the morning, should you try to be making sure you're getting water early? Is that more important as opposed to later, or?
As it pertains to, when you should try to get the water, and it's all based on you. It's your preference. You don't have to try to get it in as early as possible or late as possible. Try to work it so that you feel a little bit more comfortable throughout your day. So if you want to get a bottle in the morning, go get it, add it at lunch, and then somewhere in the afternoon, then that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, and your day is going to go better if you work it throughout the day instead of waiting for the end of the day and drinking it all in the evening. So just kind of balancing it with everything you're doing.
So if we make mistakes with this, and let's say we don't get enough water, what are some of those risks that come with dehydration, and how long does it take to start to see that, develop?
Good question. And everybody's different. That's the issue with hydration. There's no one size fits all. You can hear out there that we need 8 cups a day. That might work for some people, but other people, they might be overhydrated or dehydrated with 8 cups. So it's very individualized. So that's where we need to learn to listen to our body. So some symptoms of dehydration could be feeling thirsty. And that's not for everyone either. We can't rely heavily on thirst because as we get older, our thirst will diminish. So we need to be on board with drinking water, even if we're not thirsty. But people can develop headaches, the dryness, the mouth, the skin, dizziness, UTIs, kidney stones, digestion issues. So it affects a lot of things: mood, memory, retention of information. So that's another important reason why we want to be drinking water throughout the day so that our work day goes better. We're more focused because we're hydrated.
Very true.
Yeah, I know, even remembering as a kid when it's you go out and play and you come inside and that glass of water is the best thing in the world. And then the older you get, I don't know if it's maybe the less physical activity or, like you mentioned, is that lack of thirst, but it's more of a chore to drink water. I feel like the older you get. And there's just so many options in terms of beverages, which is kind of another thing. What other options do people have that isn't water?
You can work on hydration by changing the foods that you eat too, like more fruits, more vegetables that are predominantly water, like watermelons, strawberries, cucumbers, radishes, cabbage. Those can help hydrate. 20% of our needs can be met by eating more of those. And that's a dietitian's dream come true. Let's eat more fruits. Let's eat more vegetables. Yep. But milk and dairy products, they can help hydrate us too. Yep. So it's just important to be drinking your water. But if you make a change nutritionally, that is going to help keep you hydrated too. Yep. So this time of year, maybe we're not eating as many of those, fruits and vegetables, because it's cooler out, whatever it might be. So we can always make progress.
And I guess with that too as well, other ways and means we could touch on how to, a lot of folks don't like the taste of water. We do have that as, present too as well after you've drank a couple cups all day you don't like. So you can try to flavor your water in so many different ways. Like Jen said, you could also add those fruits to your bottle of water, and that can make the water just a little bit more attractive, a little bit more palatable for you throughout your day too.
Mm-hmm. And if you're using frozen fruit, it can double as being an ice cube. So putting that in your water and some of the flavor is going to pull out into the water, and then, you're getting that hydration.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys yourself has experienced any sort of dehydration symptoms, but how do you kind of catch that in yourself? And like, what are some good ways that you can remind yourself throughout the day to stay hydrated?
Making it sounds like a chore, but somewhat making a schedule or keeping it right in front of you, having a visual. So, like we said, you'll see some sites say 64 ounces or a little bit more, give or take, depending on where you're at. If you're younger, if you're an athlete, if you're older. But more or less having a few bottles of water in front of you so you can kind of check those off your schedule each day. If you want to start your day again with a bottle of water, that's a good way to go about it right before breakfast. Again, at lunch, and then again in the afternoon before dinner.
Yeah, including it with your meals. So that's going to knock 3 of them out and then working the others in to meet your needs. But carrying around a water bottle with you when you're in the car, you're able to drink your water instead of being tempted to stop at a gas station and get an energy drink or a soda, which is not going to help the cause.
Yeah, so when we talk about coffee, when we talk about energy drinks, sodas, do those have a negative effect in terms of driving you closer to dehydration, or is it just not getting you hydrated?
A lot of information out there throughout the years has said that it might be dehydrating, like a diuretic, but actually some of the latest research is showing that the water that goes into the coffee is still hydrating us, and the water that's in the tea, caffeine in there is going to be the diuretic, but you're still getting credit for some water there. But with that being said, plain water or fruit in your water is always the best way, because you're not getting any of the other things with it. It's just straight up water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm always been curious of like if you have a soda and then you're like, oh, I'm going to counter that with water. So like, do those is that a good kind of way of like, hey, if I'm going to have a soda with dinner, maybe we're going out, should I try to make sure I get a water in before bed? Like, how do you kind of deal with, because I mean, people are going to drink, specialty drinks and things. It's just the nature of, how it is. You're not going to always drink perfectly. So adding water on top of that, is that like a good kind of tip, a way to gauge where you're at?
Yep. That's what I always recommend. I'm not here to take anybody's soda or coffee away.
Exactly.
So if you're able to, in addition to that drink, have some water, just to make sure that, again, you're staying on top of your hydration.
So when we talk about the sports drinks, do you lean one way or the other when it comes to like a Gatorade versus like a zero sugar Gatorade versus electrolyte that you squeeze into a bottle of water? Is there...
Well, who's sponsoring today's podcast?
Okay, let's say...
Man.
No, and that is all individualized.
Yeah.
Like for the hardcore athlete,
Yes.
I always recommend don't try anything new during the competition, day of competition. You want to be trying that during practice, because sometimes when you're running, GI issues can flare up, and
Yes.
the certain kinds of sugar coming in the system could be problematic. So see first if water can meet the need. Yes. If you are, somebody who needs something else, try that out during practice.
Yes. And also, I would say, too, just a caveat, the amount of sugar in each drink and the amount of, I would say, electrolytes, salt in each drink is going to vary based on person to person.
Yep.
Sometimes, depending on activity, the level of sugar that's in a Gatorade is not going to be good if you're an athlete and you're also diabetic, too, as well. So also being, I guess, aware of what the drink is offering for you, too, as well.
So when we look at dehydration, we talked about foods and things that we want to look for. What are we staying away from when it comes to eating to avoid dehydration?
So if you sweat a lot during your workout, you would be at you would need to replenish the salt. But just for the common person getting started in the gym, wanting to not overdo it on the sodium side of things, because that can pull out further the water and bring you down to dehydration.
Yeah. So if you are, again, a starter in the gym and you see those folks walking around with a gallon jug full of water, know that that is not something that you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of something that you're willing to do in some sense.
Yeah, because the risks with dehydration are similar on the overhydration side of things. So hyponatremia is when you're flushing out too many of your electrolytes, and that's just as problematic as not having enough. So the fact that the symptoms can be very similar, it's kind of like, but you're going to know yourself. You're going to know where you're pushing water. Did you have an extra hard workout? Like where you might be on that spectrum. But again, carrying around the gallon water, that's not going to work for everyone. It seems to be kind of trendy, like let's get the gallon of water in, but that's not where everyone's at. Some people can meet their needs with 6 cups of water a day. It's very individualized.
So if you were to tier this out, like if A was water, like what would be your ABC in terms of beverages to choose?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Yeah, so water is always going to be best because just you don't have anything else coming in there with that. Then I would put like a milk. because you're getting some nutrition from that. And then depending on like time of year, we need more vitamin C throughout the winter. I would put like maybe a 100% orange juice next, or, I'm going to shout out to fruit.
Go for it.
Yeah, just some more fruits and more vegetables in and of itself.
That would work out.
Henry, do you have a list?
No, I really like Jen's list. I was going to go off topic with it. I mean, obviously the water, depending, again, I got to bring up being an athlete because I'm a former athlete there too as well. So even though the milk sounds lovely there and it is the best second to go to, I would second more or less a Gatorade. And then third, if you were trying to get away from some of the sugar there, I would go for a non-sweetening, I would say, additive to your water or flavoring there.
Yeah, good.
Or sugar-free flavoring, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
For like the athletes, you see a lot of those packs, the hydration packs. They're kind of like you squeeze them in, and then they give you electrolytes and things like that. Is that do those check a lot of boxes in terms of like if you're running a race or marathons? Like how do those kind of work?
I would say those would be great for the endurance athlete, anyone who is needing to perform at that level for a long period of time. I don't think that's needed for just a common person hitting the gym. But again, it depends on the person and how fast they lose sweat and everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of that's marketed towards everyone needs it, but really look at what you're getting from that. But the endurance athlete who is expected to keep going needs that quick grab energy, like the goo and other things like that.
If you're practicing from upwards of 2 to 3 hours a day and you're expecting competition at the end of that week, it is good to kind of replenish those as quickly as possible and not, wait around to consume as much water. But as soon as you get to the point where you feel like you have used up all your stores as far as your hydration goes, then yes, it would be great to kind of replenish that too as well.
And there's a whole thing, Justin, about like an athlete weighing in before they work out or competition and then weighing in after. And the amount of weight that has been lost is all hydration at that point. So then replenishing is at an urgent need, and there's the equation to figure out how much is needed at that point. So there's a science behind all of that for, again, the athlete who is doing it regularly.
Awesome. So there's not a better, do I hydrate before or after? It's both. Come into it hydrated, and then you're losing it, so you're going to replenish it afterwards.
During as well.
Yep.
So as you're working out, as you're running, make sure that during your rest periods you are hydrating. That is not a step you want to skip. So if you are exercising, get some in the morning. While you're doing your exercising, get some in during your break. Don't have to have full mouthfuls, but little sips here or there, because again, that could cause little discomforts here or there. And then afterwards, continuing throughout your day.
Yep, not really wanting to chug it, wanting to just sip and stay hydrated.
Exactly.
I did want to take the last couple minutes here and kind of turn this a little bit towards more of the athletic side, right? And my mind goes to the parents of the kids that do the traveling sports. They're out all day. What are the negatives of, have some Sour Patch Kids before your game to get you some energy to play better, or pretzels, or those types of snacks that, I'm sure we've all seen, it's very common. How does that negatively impact performance and hydration?
Yeah, well, with it being straight up sugar, you're going to get that energy, but with that, you're going to have the crash from the energy too when you've burned through that. Yeah. It is a simple sugar. So if you're combining like a simple sugar with something that's more complex, like a whole grain, or even fruit with the peel on there, that's going to stick with you longer than the 100% sugar.
Yeah. But I think on the negative effects side, I don't see it negatively affecting the athletes too much. Again, you need that sodium content. You need the quick, simple carbs there, I believe, or sugars, if you want to put it like that, to kind of give you that burst of energy. Depending on what your activity level is, we have muscle types. Each muscle fiber relies on different energy sources. And usually the first couple of seconds up to a couple minutes into your exercise, you're going to need that quick burst of energy. So the snacks and the sugar and some of that salt is going to give you that energy store that you can use up before you tap into the fat that you're going to use for the rest of the activity.
And timing on the fueling before an event is important too. So if you have a couple hours before an event, you can put a little more in your system so it can be a little more balanced. And the closer you get to the event, more of that simple sugar, because you need the instant fuel at that point.
Mm-hmm. So if we pack a lunch and we have some fruits, we have some bananas, we have some apples, and then we have some of those simple sugars in there, do you want to eat those apples, bananas in the car, and then maybe if you need something after your first, let's say you have 2 or 3 games that day. After your first game, maybe you can have some of the simple sugars right before your second game, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that'll work, and I think the banana also doubles over too as well. Potassium kind of help you with reduce the risk of cramping. I think that's always a great way to go about it. So the banana before, along with the simple sugars during, also could be pretty good, because you don't want to have too much on the athlete's stomach while they're going through their activities, because this could also lead to some discomfort and potentially just other ways of losing some fluid too as well. So,
Yep. And then after the event, making sure, you're refueling at that point too.
Yeah.
And we're not going to ever sit here and say don't have the fruit, because it would be great if all parents had the time that it takes to bring those things along. But unfortunately, sometimes we're going to the fast food establishment. So anything is better than that you've planned ahead of time.
Awesome. Well, that was what I had for you guys.
wow, no, this was great. Thank you, Justin, for having us.
Thank you guys.